There are some people, not so much anymore, but they would say, "Why do you do your videos with no shirt on?" Because it's hot. It's funny that if you don't package yourself a certain way, you're not going to be watched. And I've said this before, Americans have always been about packaging. They've always been about polishedness and political correctness. And even when you're on YouTube, I attract a different kind. Period. If you're a hot looking woman, you're going to have way more followers than I will, just because of her looks, not because of her content. If a woman's got some skin showing, any skin at all, and she's decent looking, she's going to have automatic views. The content doesn't matter. People that listen to me are listening because they want to hear what I have to say. They listen to me because they're going for something deeper. I'm picking on Google today because I'm laughing. They're talking about vacating their San Francisco offices, headquarters, whatever. And I think it's hilarious. Google is one of those giant bastions of social media oligarchy that is not controlled by our government, but they are controlling you and me, censoring the hell out of anything that stands for truth regarding science, regarding batteries, electric vehicles, COVID, anything that we believe that has to do with the truth. Google will shut it down, censor it, remove your video on YouTube, and put a stupid sticker on it. I have never, in my nearly 60 years, thought we would get to a point where the biggest organizations would become the biggest liars and promoters of godless rot. And Google's headed up, I believe, by a guy from India. And India has been taking over London by storm, among others. There's crazy things going on in the world, and Google's not talking about these crazy things. They're not talking about a 15-year-old girl that was raped again and again and again by multiple ethnic men that were not German citizens, because Germany's allowing these scum of the earth to come into their country. And Germany is prosecuting and persecuting anybody who made a comment just like I made. A white girl getting raped, gang raped, her phone stolen, her purse stolen, and guys getting on their phone saying, "We got an easy one here. Let's pass around some more." And none of them were dealt with. Germany let them go. The US is doing it. Denver's done it. Denver prided themselves on being a sanctuary city, and now they're complaining. I don't want to hear it, Denver. I left your sorry city. Sorry leadership. Colorado has sorry governor, Hickenlooper, and stooges that have allowed Colorado to be ruined. During the riots, they trashed the Capitol, trashed downtown, and it's sat that way for a long time. Homeless camps appeared in downtown Denver into the hundreds. And something that nobody wants to admit in Google, in Facebook, in YouTube land, in the social media oligarchy, that's disturbing is that Democrats are the ones destroying every damn thing. I posted a picture of an old theater or concert hall or something in Detroit. I don't know if many of you realize, but Detroit had a lot of money back in the Motortown days of automobile production, and they had some of the most beautiful buildings, and you never know it. People hear the word Detroit and they automatically think of ghetto on railroad, graffiti on railroad cars and buildings and busted crap. Detroit at one time was one of as our hymn states, alabaster cities. Now it is pathetic. abandoned, blighted, destroyed, vandalized buildings, a testimony of how Democrat ways don't work. Google's leaving San Francisco because all the stores are leaving. How hypocritical. Google should be forced to stay in the putrefying stench and ghetto that their belief system creates. And it's funny how Google's little sickening ads are so slick and they're so touted as professional. Google censorship of people like me, people like you, people that support Trump, people who don't believe in buying electric cars, people who don't believe what Google says about COVID and what Google says about spherical heating. We're going to trust some tech geeks about science. Science which has been manipulated by atheists. It is a religion of the atheist, the damned, the hellbound, sinful man that denies the existence of God. We're going to let them set policy. Google doesn't see themselves as the evil entity that they've become. They are a monopoly. They bulldoze into your computers, the search engine. You have to link into Google to get into anything, your Facebook, YouTube, anything. Our government was supposed to break up monopolies. They haven't touched Facebook. They haven't touched YouTube. They haven't touched Google. Why? Google has become a massive tool of the left. Divide and conquer politics. Social media can censor us, paint a bad picture. Google is friends with MSNBC, NBC, CBS, PBS, ABC, NPR, CNN. They're all the same. It's been established as a fact that Zuckerberg has been eyeing or bought a property. Then it shows a picture of a bunker style house. Said these billionaires are building bunkers for themselves. Why is that? Let's talk about that. Zuckerberg's rich. What does he need a bunker for? Is he scared? Why is he scared? Because he's godless. That's why. The Bible says something about the wicked flee when no one pursues. I think somewhere underneath Zuckerberg's boring lack of passion is a reality that, you know what, you're guilty, pal. You're going to stand before God one day, whether you believe in him or not, and there's not going to be a Facebook in heaven. There's not going to be a Zuckerberg as a CEO of anything in heaven. And as far as I can tell, none of the Google team's going to be there. No Instagram, Pinterest. That needs to be stated. That needs to be very much stated. Everybody knows I have been censored and jailed and posts removed on Facebook for years. Under the banner of violating Facebook's community standards, and there was nothing in their community standard of the posts that I posted that violated it. It's some radical leftists in there who had me on speed dial. I finally shut down a Facebook account because everything I was posting, neutral stuff, was getting censored. Our independent fact checkers found this to be mostly false. That is untrue. And didn't Zuckerberg stand before a congressional hearing about their fact checkers? He was accused of censorship. And he even admitted that the fact checkers were opinions. But you call them fact checkers. I'm going to say it again, folks. The people who work for Zuckerberg and Zuckerberg himself, Google, all of them, are geeks. Geeks were made fun of when I was in school. But they know how to make money and they're very smart. Anybody remember the movie The Revenge of the Nerds? It had the wrong script. It needed to show Zuckerberg and Gates and Google people. People like me, I'm still to this day made fun of for these Coke bottle glasses, and they've thinned them down. They've thinned them way down. If you use polycarbonate lenses, they're really thick. Read some of Bill Gates' writings. He views most of the world as a bunch of morons. The righteous, the Christian, lives sprinkled like pepper or salt all around the globe. We don't have the protection of ammunition and guns and bodyguards. We live vulnerably and openly, and God is our defense. And these rich fat cats that are just living high on the hog, these rich fat cats that smiled and did all their little silly videos during COVID-19, just stay at home, wee, smiling about it. Because they're sitting on piles of money, they don't got to worry about a damn thing. They did not care. Governor Newsom in California did not care that restaurant people lost their jobs. He did not care. Newsom is destroying single-handedly the state of California, taxing the hell out of it, doing dumb things, demanding everybody wear masks and isolate, condone skate parks being filled with sand, playground equipment torn apart to keep kids out of there, arresting a kayaker on the Pacific Ocean. Now watch, Google censored that. Mostly false. He was on the Pacific Ocean, on the water, but California claims that the beach is their property. Hate to tell you this, Newsom, you don't own the ocean itself. That the police took the time to break social distancing laws to make an arrest of a kayaker is proof of how ridiculous this whole thing was. COVID-19 was not an accident. It was an on-purpose movement between Fauci and Chinese and dirty billiard-playing officials to hijack and fuck up an election, to control people, to fuck up the economy. Don't believe me? Listen to Trudeau during that time, smiling like a Cheshire cat. This is the Great Reset. Whee! How come they were all smiling? They made higher profits during that time than anybody else. Google, Facebook, all those social media oligarchs, just money poured into their butt cheeks. Google is evil. It's an entity governed by a bunch of geeks. And they have gotten revenge. The control that they wield is massive. It is more than Joe Biden. It is more than Putin. It is more than Kim Jong-un. And they are looking for ways to shut us down, deny us employment. If you think I'm kidding, they are a bulldozer telling you what to believe about science. You say anything that objects to what they consider the truth of spherical heating, you will get a sticker. You'll have your video pulled. You'll have your account shut down. Freedom of speech? Really? It's interesting that the media itself, back in the day, historically in the US, was guilty of what was called yellow journalism. And of course, government tried to shut it down until we had a constitutional amendment, freedom of the press. And they put that in there to protect people. You may not agree with it, but you can't censor. But the same Democrats who want the freedom to lie to us want to censor your freedom to believe the truth. We not only have yellow journalism, but now those yellow journalists are coming after people who believe the truth. They got us hooked on Google, hooked on YouTube, hooked on all of this social media. And now they fucking with us. If you want your account, you need to be in good standing. If you don't eat your meat, you're not going to get your pudding. We don't need no education. We don't need your thoughts control. I love how our world is so stupid to believe and continue to maintain the lie. But the only ones qualified to talk about science are scientists or people brainwashed in secular universities. I'll make my comments. People say, you didn't even go to college. I said, I know. I avoided all the brainwashing you got. When I became a Christian in 1985, I made a decision. I was not going to college. And the reason for that is I knew what I had just gone through with public education. I thought there's too many lies being taught in here under the banner of so-called truth. Science has ceased to be science when it is governed by atheists. Charles Darwin, you read about the voyage of the Beagle, his dog named Shippy, that went to the Galapagos Islands, and scientists smile saying that this proves so much. It proves absolutely zilch. Darwin himself confessed in his own writings that the fossil record was against him. Scientists to this day ignore that. Scientists to this day ignore the second law of thermodynamics. They totally ignore it, even though they believe that that is true science. The law of entropy states that everything is slowing down, dying, decaying, death, disease, burial, bloodshed. They laugh and mock at a global flood. Even Robert Ballard said that the Black Sea was under a local flood once, that many people believe was the Noah flood. No, Ballard, you're wrong. You found the Titanic, but you failed science again. The Black Sea is very interesting. You ought to read about it. There's a zone of water that if you go under it, it's very toxic. There's some weird anomalies in the Black Sea. There was a worldwide flood, and if people can't see it, the Bible talks about the great springs of the deep burst forth. People think it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. You cannot produce enough rain to flood an entire planet. And people ignorantly say, how can you have 29,000 feet of water to go over Mount Everest? Because you didn't have 29,000 feet of water to go over Everest, dum-dum. Everest was created as a result of the flood. Continental drift, or whatever they want to call it, created during the flood. The great springs of the deep burst forth, the underground water table. Do you know what happens when you fill a balloon with water and you push the water out of it? The balloon starts to cave in. You got areas of the earth that sank down when all that water vacated that chamber. Why do you think you got caves, subterranean caves? What were those? Deep, deep caves with water in them. What were those? They were channels for water to come spurting out of. How come you have a mid-Atlantic ridge and a mid-Pacific ridge? What is that? What is that? Because water came out of those ridges. And the hydraulic pressure of water caused the continents, the landmass to break as the water came out, and then the lubrication to cause the plates to slide against each other, and causing all of the mountain ranges around the globe. The water never was 29,000 feet deep. And you have a rearranging of the geographical landscape, and all of the water of the flood is still presently where it is. I think it's interesting that God did not tell Noah to put engines, sails, a rudder, or a steering wheel on the ark. He told them exactly how to build it, sent the animals there, told him, his wife, and his sons to get into the ark, and he says, I will shut you in. All that thing was designed to do was to float as soon as the water reached a certain level. Didn't need to steer, didn't need to be navigated. You stop and think about that. You think about our high tech world, that the ark is a symbol of what it's like when you put your faith in Christ, that God carries us. It's not through man's working, that you put yourself in the ark of God's mercy and he's got your back. Engineers built the Titanic, state of the art, beautiful, opulent, majestic, 2.5 miles at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And man still fails, including Google staff and Zuckerberg and others, to realize not only is their thinking flawed, but they're sinners awaiting condemnation. They stand condemned according to the Bible. And they're working on the wrong side of spiritual forces. That Zuckerberg and Google work for the spiritual forces of darkness and evil. They are under the authority of Satan. Ads are slick, and Americans are taken up by quasi professionalism. Google has become God in our society. Women can't put their phones down. People can't put their phones down. You want a job, you got to get on the damn phone, the internet. You want to check your paycheck stub at work, got to get on the internet. Little did Americans realize they have forced us to get online. It has some bonuses. People like me can speak and be heard. Other people that were wallflowers were able to do a video stick and get followers. That's why it's called YouTube. You can put yourself on the tube. But you have Google censoring things. You can't say keywords like CLIMATE. You mention that, here comes the stickers, here comes the censorship. Oh, we're not going to tolerate anybody disagreeing with the holy see of the Google oligarchy. Are Google oligarchy scientists? No, they're not. They're tech geeks. Was Mark Zuckerberg and his wife medical scientists that study viruses? Nope. Tech geek. He was, anyway. But all of a sudden, they were experts on COVID-19. Did you notice there were 3 people that were stars during 2020? Zuckerberg, Fauci, and Gates. People's lives were affected. People lost their incomes. People lost their jobs. While people that vote mostly Democrat got all kinds of kickbacks with their children and spent their kids' money on new cars, quit their Burger King and McDonald's jobs. I live here, so I can talk about that because it happened here. They could only open the drive-through at some restaurants because they didn't have enough staff to open up the actual business. I remember one day we walked up to a drive-through, parked the school bus when I was driving. You guys can't walk up here. I said, you got the lobby closed. You want us to drive the school bus up? Oh, yeah, okay. Dum-dums. We're trying to buy food, and you make it impossible. We can't walk in, so we have to walk through the drive-through. Why is that not okay? You stupid people come up with stupid stuff. They did sell us food, begrudgingly. I remember one time in Duluth, I could take my bus home during the midday, and I would stop at the bank, and people still had a way to get around the drive-through, but it was a small parking lot, and I tried to park somewhat out of the way, and one of the banker ladies said, "Mike, can you not park your bus in here?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't have a vehicle, and I come on my way home to do banking." I should have said, "Well, I'll just stop being a customer here. I'm in here for 5 minutes, and you're fussing about a bus." Women, back to women and their pettiness. But I honored it. Google moving out of San Francisco is complete hypocrisy. You guys supported BLM, you supported the riots. You didn't make a statement that this is not okay. See, Google can be so wonderful, can't they? It shocks me that these big corporations are creating the very ghetto that's coming in, and then they want to run and escape. It was nice being Google in San Francisco, that wonderfully overpriced city, which is going down in flames. It is a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, and I'll finally just say it. The worship of the penis, gay pride, LGBT politics, and riots, and people stealing people's watches right off of their arms, stealing out of stores closing down in San Francisco's nice shopping area in the shiploads. You see, proof is never ending that liberalism does not bode a society, a city, anything well. It doesn't promote safety. Gavin Newsom is a hair gel geekster spacky. And I would say it to his face. He's a shitty leader. And people vote for this trash to run a state. I'm a Californian. I can say it. California doesn't have men with balls leadership. They have liberal pansy asses that have never walked behind a lawnmower, never worked a hard physical day in their life. There's something wrong in a society where pencil pushing geeks can make more than people who move the stones to build the freaking pyramids that they live in. And I've said this all along. America is on the Amway scheme. Some clown owns a business. He gets all the worker ants, treats the worker ants like they're not as important as him. We all believe the lie. Oh, I got a good job. Yeah, busting your ass for a company making profit over profit, but you can't get decent benefits, can't get a decent wage. And you're supposed to be their slave. Fun, huh? Total fun. Google should try moving their offices to the ghetto area of Detroit or Compton. They should be required. All these social media oligarchs, why don't you improve the community? Move over to Compton. They need some help over there. I want you to look at the most expensive cities in the United States and ask yourself a damn question. What is their majority political stance? New York, Boston, D.C. They're not Republican. They're not conservative. Why is that? Didn't we hear all the time about rich Republicans, rich Republicans, rich Republicans? The Democrats are laughable. Their biggest supporters are some of the richest in the world. Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Google staff. Google's own worth is ridiculous. The amount of money they make per second is ungodly. And you got 4 commercials on a music video. They're greedy bastards. They're sickeningly lusting after money. And Google dominates so much, nobody will dare to question it. Nobody will dare to criticize it. Trust me. If I could have enough power, if I was dictator for a spell, I would go after them. Say, you stop censoring people, or we're going to shut you down. The stuff that Google permits, the harassment on YouTube that I had endured, and it went on for years. And a channel still stands as a testimony of a Antifa agent gone bad. And you all know who that is. Guy who's bullied women that he had an interest in that did not have an interest in him. He even bullied the woman who had the cat on her kitchen table saying that I'm a mess. He bullied Maharani and he bullied others. I have no idea where he is, and nor do I care. Google doesn't stop harassment and bullying unless you say something about their clowns in the White House. Unless you say something about CLIMATE that they don't agree with, or COVID, blah, blah, blah. You get my point. Gavin Newsom, Whitmer, Michigan, Hochul in New York, the 3 worst governors in the history of statehood. Gavin Newsom was propped up by Pelosi and Kamala Harris. Big money thrown in by the teachers union. Why is the teachers union spending money on a governor? We all know the answer to that. Pink Floyd nailed it. We don't need no education. We don't need no thoughts control. And guess what is freaking happening in our public schools? We're not getting an education. We're getting brainwashed and we're getting thoughts control. Go into a science class and stand up and say, teacher, this is BS about evolution. You'll get an F in the class. They hide behind the word science when what they're doing is supporting and encouraging rampant, viral, nasty atheism. There is no scientific proof of evolution. None. Smoke and mirror sleight of hand, and it's hyperbole. Oh, well, what about quantum physics? What about quantum physics? It doesn't prove a thing about evolution. And you listen to these people and the same old circular argument. Show me in the fossil record. You cannot argue with these kinds of fools. They're brainwashed to believe the guck that they believe in. They cannot tell you why monkeys still exist. They cannot tell you why evolution is not happening anymore. Well, it doesn't need to be. But let's take it to the apex. So that man is moving ever upward. We're evolving. We're getting better. How come crime is worse now than ever before? How come manners is worse now? How come people are more cynical and nasty? How come women are walking away from men and not dating men? The evolutionists catch themselves constantly in a major contradiction. If we evolved from monkeys, why are there monkeys, chimps, and baboons and gorillas? Why? A complete old specimen. Why are there no Mr. Tumnus the Fawn and C.S. Lewis, The Chronicles of Narnia? How come we don't have a half horse, half man? Where are all these things? Fools come up with foolish things. They laugh and mock. And I've said it before. How do you tell the followers of Satan? Mocking and laughing and deriding and name calling us. I had some atheists on. I finally took some on. I'd gotten tired of their posts on a site. They said, you're gaslighting us. I say, call it whatever you want. It needs to be done. You people think you have the upper hand. You believe in a lie, and it's full of contradictions. And when we point those things out, you got a problem. Spherical heating is the biggest damn lie. It is hot this summer. And we cannot base this stuff off a current thing. Ask these morons one question. Go to Yosemite. Take the time to go to Yosemite. Even if you can't stay at the park, drive through it. Now I'm hearing they're going to charge people just to drive through. It's sick what's happened to our national parks. Campers, diesel motorhomes all over the place. People roughing it, right? The valley floor of Yosemite is impressive. Half Dome El Capitan looked like a skill saw, clean set, sliced right through solid granite. Done by glaciers, man. Where did they go? How come they disappeared long before the Industrial Revolution? They can and won't answer the question. I love how they affix dates. It's like throwing darts at door. 15,000 years ago, 1 million years ago, 2 billion years ago. And then they argue with me till the cows come up. Well, radiocarbon dating's pretty accurate. Uh-huh. All suppositions and theories and speculatives and no fact. We're assuming that it's the half-life. How do you know it's not the eighth life, the three-quarter life, or the 0.95% life? How do you know it's the half-life, morons? The half-life of what? Radiation. So how do you know you're making a speculative judgment? Not only are your dating processes wrong, but we go back to Adam and Eve, and it's pretty clear that we're about 6,000 to 10,000 years as a world. Well, dinosaurs weren't around when humans were. More BS. Do you know footprints found in Texas next to man footprints? Same rock strata, same level. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. Oh, wait, didn't they find a Lucy? Modern science is a religion of faith by modern atheists because it takes more faith to believe they're kookamania and hoo-ha than it does to believe in a literal Genesis account. Christians, don't be intimidated by the left. Don't be intimidated by those with college degrees and distinguishing beards that look professor. That doesn't mean a thing. God can take ordinary men and empower them to stand boldly for the truth. I know there's a God. I know beyond shadow of a doubt there's a God. There's no question about it. And he will judge the world, and he's going to rein in all these fools, including Zuckerberg. Why are these guys building bunkers? Oprah Winfrey, another hypocrite. 8 mansions? She's really saving the environment, isn't she? I wonder how much it costs to air condition and heat all those units. She got an electric, it's so funny. Biden wants to tax all these energy companies, and punish coal, but it takes coal to run most of these electric outfits. Gavin Newsom telling everybody 2035, you can't buy gas-powered anything in this state. Isn't that amazing, the dictatorial power that he wields? Since when did the government get in the business of telling you what you can and cannot buy? And it's funny to listen to these clowns call Trump Adolf Hitler. Trump didn't censor anybody's right to buy anything. Trump hasn't killed another human being. The Democrats have killed 61 million children in the name of choice. Democrats have killed 61 million children in the name of choice. Democrats have killed 61 million children in the name of choice. Democrats have killed 61 million children in the name of choice. Do you know why they say that over and over? Because women laugh at that. Women just ignore that. Nobody cares. And those clowns call Trump Adolf Hitler. Trump is not anti-Semitic. He never used the N-word, but he's called racist by the black liberal voters. They love capitalizing. Oh, he's a felon. He's a felon. Convicted by black people, convicted by black DAs and black people and clowns from the left, a kangaroo court of fools. It didn't matter that he did these things years ago. It only mattered when he was saying he was going to run again. Did they ever convict Obama for lying about healthcare, calling it the Affordable Care Act? Affordable for who? That was a lie. And you did not get healthcare. You had to pay more for your HMOs. Bill Clinton never got, he should have been thrown out of office for getting his wee sucked in Oval Office, on the job, on the clock. Can you imagine if I was to walk into my workplace and go in the conference room and have another employee give me a blowjob and walk out and say, that's nobody's business? My employer would say, you did that on company time. It is inappropriate and you're out of here. The Democrats are full of shit. They're liars, they're hypocrites, they're thieves, they're unethical, and they're running our country. And look what they've done. Telling Zelensky, you can shoot off our hardware into Russian territory. But we're not sending any troops. We don't want to get involved. Putin's no dummy. One of those weapons hit a beach, killing 2 Russian children, and Putin's pissed, and he is threatening retaliation against the U.S. They're talking about drafting women. There's going to be a whole bunch of Gen X men. They're going to say, we're not getting in this war. Go ahead and arrest me. Because I'll tell you what, I'll fight for the honor of the U.S., but I'm not fighting for Biden's bullshit. And I would refuse. And say, no, I'm not going to fight for the Ukraine. That's a Vietnam. It's a Vietnam. Better Bachelor does a channel devoted to the craziness of females in America. He is now talking about politics. He said, I can't avoid it. It's all around me. Glad to see he has a conservative stance. The battle lines are being drawn, folks. They're being drawn. Google is the summa cum laude definition of hypocrisy. Privileged, rich, protected, never in danger like you and I are, controlling one of the biggest monstrous organizations that money runs as we speak like a cash register. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. 99% of Google ads that hit me on YouTube when I'm listening to classical rock music have nothing to do with my interests or anything I would use. The Democrats don't want you to see the truth about themselves. Their party has more collective money than the conservatives and Republicans ever did or do. And these people live for the dollar. These people live for the big bank accounts. While telling you to vote socialist, while telling you to vote for abortion, while telling you Black Lives Matters, while telling you, if Black Lives Matter so much to Google and Zuckerberg, why are they moving far away from Black communities? Why did Oprah move far away from Black communities? They're all hypocrites. It's easy to sit on your velvet pillow somewhere when you're not affected by things and throw out statements. Whites are entitled. Yeah. Every friend I have has at least 8 mansions, one worth $90 million, and owns property in Lahaina when Lahaina burned to the ground, except Oprah's didn't. Isn't that ironic? Hypocrites. Hypocrites. And Oprah gets up there with her little infomercial telling people to raise money for the victims of Lahaina. Hey, Oprah, you're sitting on billions of dollars. You could build every one of those people a house. Shut the fuck up. Even a black woman called her out and said, "You got to be kidding me." There's some blacks that are waking up, and I love it. There are. And that's encouraging. To show you how flawed the media is, USA Today had an article showing two black women saying blacks are giving up on Trump and want nothing to do with him. The very next day, CNN has an article with a journalist saying he's shocked that the numbers of blacks that are supporting Trump shocked him. Wait a minute, USA Today and CNN, aren't they both liberal tigers? An example of yellow, false, tainted, jacked up non-journalism. These aren't news organizations anymore. And guess what? CNN's going to be hosting the presidential debates. Laughable. You got a black woman on there known to be anti-Trump, a guy on there anti-Trump. That's going to be objective. And Biden can't, this is rigged. It is like WWE, folks. They're going to make Trump look like the dumbass. They're going to make Biden look like he's so valiant and did so well. Scripted questions that he'll get to see in advance. If I was Trump, I'd say, nope, CNN will not host it. We're not telling anybody the questions in advance. It's funny that the Democrats have to do shit like this to keep their corruption in power. That ought to be a red flag to you right there. If you can't handle the heat, this is Mr. Push-Ups guy. I can do more push-ups than Trump. Okay. So can you answer an unexpected question? Do you have to be on a teleprompter for a debate too? There's something wrong with the leader that has to be heads up on things. Biden has got this nation in deep bandini, which is another word for cow shit. And the Democrats are going on about how wonderful they're doing. Gavin Newsom is single-handedly destroying the state of California, and even Google's going to be looking for a different office. Google's running from Democrat leaders, but yet they group hug them. Isn't that funny? Isn't that ironic? Bill Gates buying farmland in a conservative state. He's not buying it where all the liberals live. Bill Gates is not investing one dime into the black community. You know why? Because Bill Gates believes he's a superior race. He's part of the Aryan nations mentality. Did you know that? See, the black community wants to talk about racism. They need to focus and fixate on Bill Gates. Bill Gates has made outrageous statements. Poverty is a result of inferior genetics. Is that even true? So he's saying that poverty in the Philippines and India is because people aren't as smart as he is. Their genetics aren't. Did you ever look at Bill and Melinda Gates? Did you ever see Bill Gates as GQ, sexy, physique oriented? I didn't. He's a geek. Did Melinda Gates, did she look like she was the Taj Mahal of sexy? Nope. So it looks like genetics failed them in the looks department, did it not? This needs to be stated because the Aryan concept of Adolf Hitler resides in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party simply uses the blacks as useful idiots. The Democratic Party pimps them for votes to keep their tattered, unethical, disgusting party afloat. They cater and pander to illegals to get the vote, but they do not let those illegals move into their neighborhoods. They do not open up their homes to them and the refugees. The Democrats are hypocrites, folks. Webster needs to change the definition of hypocrite. Democrat. That's it. AOC is nothing but a bartender, big boob blowhard. Whined about her mother's leaky roof in Puerto Rico. Democrat or Republicans, not Democrats, raised money. She refused to take it, being the toddler that she is. She's a mouth. She's a vagina that just always got all day long. Her ideas are radical, they're insane, and they're not thought out. She's a bartender, more substance in her tit meat than in her head meat. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. She even made a comment that Republicans don't like her because they can't fuck her. I'm paraphrasing that. Don't rate yourself so highly, girl. You're cute, but when you're that dumb, I don't want to have sex with you. And she married a white man, by the way, not a Puerto Rican. Please pay attention to that. Crapola Harris, who says that whites are privileged, also married a white man. How come Kamala Harris didn't marry the leader of Google, who's India? You know, she's 50% India, but we never hear that in our media. Did you know that? One parent was India, one was African. How come we never hear about her India-ness? She's called a black woman. It's funny how our media spins the hell out of that one. You got two parents of complete different cultures, ethnically, but they play the black card on her. Oprah Winfrey saving the planet, getting gluttonous and bigger and bigger and bigger. These Democrats are not preserving the planet. They're not living in teepees on the Great Plains. Elizabeth Warren, Dianne Feinstein, Pelosi's got her mansion that supposedly some guy broke into it, yet all the glass shards were outside the building and not in. I've broken enough windows in my life that when you break it from the outside, the glass falls into the house. If you break it from the outside, the glass falls outside. Who knows what Pelosi's husband was doing? Maybe he was getting some blowjob by his clown friend who lived in an old school bus. The media got really quiet about that. But do you remember Pelosi? Was there ever a hearing talking about her lying? Did you hear what she said after that? This was a Trump supporter who did this. No, it was an LGBT, BLM, Democrat buddy of your husband's that did this. And what was he doing in the house? We don't hear any more on that, do we? There was no investigation. Nancy Pelosi is the true definition of an idiot. I would say it to her face. She lived long and prosperous in the habitations of evil called the halls of power. And she stayed in there too long just to exert power. It's not enough to make their exorbitant, godless riches. I would think if I had a fraction of what Pelosi had, I would go off to an island and check out. I sure as hell wouldn't stay in Washington. And that tells you all about them. They are power-hungry zealots. They want to fuck with the lives of myself and you. They're not about democracy. That is a lie. They wrongly call America democracy. It is a republic for which it stands, according to the Pledge of Allegiance, which Democrats conveniently forget. If you want to see a clown who embodies the very thing that Democrats do, all you got to do is look at our northern neighbor, Canada. Clown of clowns, Justin Trudeau, seizing GoFundMe, PayPal, monies designated for truckers who he didn't like hearing air horns and diesel engines, and he had a cow. They didn't burn the city down. They didn't tear things up. Rioters in the U.S. tore things up, and the police were told to stand back and let them do it. The truckers didn't tear things up, threatened to have their trucks towed, said, I will forbid you employment. But Trump was called Adolf Hitler. Remember that. Democrats must be into Mein Kampf because that's the way they're doing things. Democrats support anti-Semitism. You got Ilhan Omar, who can rant and scream or anti-Jewishness on the House floor. I don't care if somebody was voted in. When people act like her and AOC, they need to be fired, barred, banned from the political arena, but they don't. Politicians have immunity. They have privilege. Black women can spew racist shit in the halls of power. No accountability. Maxine Waters incited violence against us and other Americans that don't agree with her. She told black people to confront them in the restaurants, at the gas station, in the public. Let a white leader encourage people to stand in the face of blacks and do what Maxine said should be done to us. There was no investigation into that. Nancy Pelosi is a bitch. She did not investigate her own, said that is not in accordance with our Constitution, Maxine. That's racist. You're inciting a rebellion. You're inciting violence. Pelosi's all about January 6th. She's too stupid to realize if those people wanted to kill her, they could have. They didn't. And no one to this day wants to admit that that was infiltrated by Democrat plants called Antifa. They allowed the riots to go on unchecked. But even if Trump supporters were guilty of going in, which I do not support and I never supported, that was nothing compared to what Democrats allowed to happen in U.S. cities. Billions and billions of dollars of damage. People killed, cops killed, taxpayer bought cop cars and police equipment and police precincts burned to the ground, while Democrats did not once say, stop it. Your silence is damning. How did we get to a point where we allowed these tyrants to control this country? And now they want to fuck with the bear. That bear called Russia. Is Putin just saber rattling? I think if I was him, I'd try to take a cheap shot at Honolulu or Anchorage. Those would be two good places to start with. Then he wouldn't have to send an ICBM. He could just send a ship out in the Pacific with certain range and what's the U.S. going to do? Throw stuff at Moscow? Well, you start doing that, Moscow's going to shoot stuff at D.C. Biden is not the man we want in charge. And that's the best candidates that the Democrats put out for round 2 against Trump. And they're even suggesting that Trump bring Nikki Haley on board, a moderate. Are they admitting that they're going to go down in flames? Don't count your chickens before they hatch, Republicans. The Democrats are desperate. It's not even July yet. July, August, September, October. We got 4 solid months between now and an election. Watch them fuck something up good. Watch them get us into war where the election has to be canceled. Watch them pull some rabbit out of their hat, Rocky. Watch this. Don't think they're not capable. I don't trust the Democrats, nor should you. They're evil. They're self-promoting. They help themselves the cookie jar on every turn. They're reaping the dough, killing. They're financially gluttonous. And I attack Google because they're hypocritical. You support socialism. You support BLM. You support everything the Democrats believe in. Why don't you stay put and clean up San Francisco, boneheads? No, now you want to run and hide. You're privileged, entitled mentality. You want to go where it's safe. you should be required to put your offices in Compton. You should be forced to hire all those black guys down there that don't fit the job description of what you're looking for. See, it's funny what you do to the rest of us, but you don't want to do it to yourself. Why don't you move to an area where you don't have police protection? You supported defund the police. Why should they protect Google offices? They shouldn't. They shouldn't protect Zuckerberg at all. Facebook should be wide open to the same thing Michael Nelson is. I love these Democrat hypocrites talking about white privilege. Social media's got privilege. They're not tried for a damn thing. Google's a hypocrite. Moving their offices. That's laughable. They should go to Detroit, inner city. They should go to Compton. They should go to all the rough places and set up shop. So this is what your belief system, this is the end result. Barbaric, thug, criminal, dangerous, murderous behavior. The only Democrats that do well are those on top of the piles of wealth, controlling the shots, controlling the cue ball and the stick and the pool game. Dangerous fools all. This is specific.